Hey everybody, welcome to Culinary Characters Unlocked. I'm David Page. On this episode, the Michelin star-winning French-born chef whose affordable New York steakhouse went viral after a couple of influencers put it on Tik Tok. Here's Laurent Tourondel.
Chef, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. You are a French-born, classically trained chef who some might say has an obsession with steak.
Why steak?
I don't know. Look, I train with some of the, like you say, the classic French chef. When I came to the United States, I saw those steakhouse restaurants, and the way Americans were looking at steak was a little bit different than what we experience in Europe because, of course, the quality of the beef. So it was always something I wanted to do, and I opened some steakhouse.
Is American beef better?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Why?
The beef in Europe, it's older beef when they kill the animal, and then the way they feed them here with corn, so you increase the amount of fat inside, and it's just it's a younger animal in the United States, and it's a little bit more tender, and it contains more fat inside.
Your latest or most recently celebrated concept is skirt?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Skirt, basically, it's it's a simple concept where for $45 now, which was way cheaper before, but the meat increased, a lot. So we had to increase the prefix from, I think, 32 to 45. So basically, it's a very simple dining concept where you sit down, we'll give you some bread, some baguette bread with butter, and then you get a beautiful mixed green salad with some fresh herbs and a mustard, shallots vinaigrette. Then for $45, so you'll get that, and you'll get a great steak, a skirt steak, 8 ounce, and it's a prime steak. So it's a very high quality steak, very tender. Then you have option after that next to it. You have option and oh, by the way, for $45 it comes with fry with as much as you want, fresh homemade French fry, and it comes with a little peppercorn béarnaise on the side. Now, if you want to increase what you and upgrade, instead of getting just regular baguette, you could do some garlic bread for an extra $10. And then and we offer some seasonal vegetable also on the side. And then a wonderful dessert chole comes along for about an average of $12, a nice slice of cake. So the chole comes to the table and you have a choice. But that's not included inside the $45.
For $45, I get a steak and all the frites I can eat.
And a salad.
And a salad.
And a baguette.
How did you come up with that idea?
There are several concepts around the world who are based on this sort of like mono product. In Hong Kong, there is one. There is some in Washington, D.C. There is the famous one in Paris. It did not exist in New York. So I say maybe I come up with my own skirt steak with, Americanized a little bit,
Skirt's a funny cut. My assumption for years was that it was tough. I'm wrong?
It's interesting. There is 2 kinds of skirts in a cow. There is the inside and there is the outside skirt. So one of them is very chewy, and we don't serve the chewy one. We serve the tender one.
Which one's chewy and which one's tender?
So the inside skirt is a tender cut, and the outside is the chewy.
Okay, you open this, and a TikTok influencer came and loved it and posted about it, and the place blew up. I mean, you had what? You had a line down the street the next day?
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy because, it was unexpected. TikTok is really not something I go on it, so I had a hard time understanding it, the way it works. But the night when those 2 girls posted, I think we had something like 5.5 million of view, which is insane. And I remember the day when they posted, I was in the kitchen, and then one of my manager comes to see me, and he says, "Chef, you should go outside and see what's going on. And I was like, oh my God. It was the line was around the block. So I started to cook some steak and slice them and going around the line for the people to taste a little bit before the preview,
An amuse-bouche, perhaps?
Miss Bush, yeah, exactly.
So that's a huge success.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
And you have so many more restaurants and so much more success. But I want to back up at this point and ask you about your culinary life before you were a professional.
When we're back in a moment.
You grew up where, chef?
I grew up in the center of France, in a small town named Michelin in Auvergne.
There's this assumption in America that you guys are all running around on bicycles carrying large baguettes on your way to eat coq au vin.
I don't know where that comes from.
From travel posters, mostly. What was your experience with or attraction to food growing up?
Yeah, I think it was from my family. My great-grandfather was a chef. My great-grandmother was an amazing chef, but at home. My grandmother was a chef at home. My mom, my dad cooked. The food was every day, was part of the family. What do we eat for lunch? What do we eat for dinner? And
what were the local dishes?
first of all, we had a garden, so we only ate seasonal product. Was no any strawberry in December.
Do you serve strawberries in December now because Americans demand it, or do you remain
No, I don't serve strawberry in December. There's no point. Some local dishes, yeah. Where I grew up, it's around lentils, a lot of pork, a lot of potato, a lot of heavy food, dark, confit. It's a lot of different things, but really, really great food.
By what age did you decide, I'm going to do this for a living?
So it did not happen this way, unfortunately.
Okay, chef, how did it happen?
Unfortunately, I got fired out of school when I was 12 years old. I was a very unstable student, very agitated. So my dad says, look, you have option. You could go and cook. There is a school where it's a cooking school. You could go learn an office job, or you can be a fashion designer, a couturier. So I say, look, the food, what do you know at 12 years old? I don't think you know much, but I choose cooking, And then from there, I did 4 years. So at 16 and a half, I finished school. I went to the Navy. I was a chef in a hotel for the admiral.
You cooked for an admiral of the Navy while you were in the Navy?
Yeah. You don't choose where you go. They choose where you go. So, look, of course, I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to go in a mountain in Germany in the snow. So I got placed in the south of France, and it was an amazing experience because where I was very special, and I was in the Navy. I never went on a boat. I was located, in the south of France. It was fantastic, by the way. Then I met a friend who said to me, look, I used to work in London before. And if you want, I can introduce you to the club in London where I used to work. And then you can see, maybe you can go. And I was like, oh my God, this is a perfect opportunity for me to learn English, to learn the discipline in the kitchen. And, it was an amazing experience. So I stayed in London for 3 years.
What happened next?
I came to the United States for a while. And then I found a job in New York. It was really hard because I didn't have the right paperwork and it was complicated. So I moved back to France and then I bought the guide Michelin and the Michelin guide and I took the 3 best restaurants in Paris. And then I knock on the door and I say, look, I arrived from New York. I work with so-and-so in New York. And then, do you have a job for me? The 3 of them offered me a job and I picked one. And then I stayed here. I work at Le Doyen in France. It's a big restaurant establishment on the Champs-Élysées, in the park of the Champs-Élysées.
Was that a formative experience? You'd been to culinary school, you'd worked a lot of places, but was there anything special about what you learned here?
It was an insane experience. I went from a commie to be a chef de party, and I was a chef de party in a very big brigade. And I think I had 12 or 14 people under me. And I was doing the whole ordering of the restaurant, all the pâtés and terrine and foie gras and butchering. It was insane. was an insane experience. Then from here, I went to do an event at Roland Garros, and I met someone, and he says to me, look, we have a restaurant. It's a big company who's based in Paris. And he said to me, we're doing a consulting. We have a branch in Moscow. Would you be interested to go as a chef de party? And I say, well, why not? So I went to Moscow and I stayed for a year and a half. And from Moscow, I wrote a letter to the Trois Gros family in France. Somehow the experience I accumulated was good, but it was not good enough. I needed to prove myself, and I needed to go and work in those 3 Michelin star restaurants. Okay. So I wrote a letter, and I had an interview after a year and a half at the Trois Gros restaurant in France. Then I got picked up, and then I stayed over there 2 years, which somehow opened my vision about different things about cooking, working with French ingredients, working with seasonal ingredients, going to the market, treating the product properly, learning the creativity and how to create. And it was a very special experience for me.
So I want to be clear. You went to Moscow.
Yeah.
Then you went from there to Trois Gras.
Yeah.
Must have been a difference in available seasonal ingredients.
Yeah, but in Moscow, I learned different things also, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I learned some of the Russian cooking, Russian food, and it was sort of like very, very interesting for me.
So you work at Trois Gras. They send you to New York?
No, the company I used to work in Moscow had a branch in New York as a catering company, and they asked me if I could take the chef position at the catering company. And I came here and, I stayed for a year. Catering was not my thing, but we used to do big events, the MoMA, the Met, New York Public Library. I mean, you name it, fashion show. I mean, it was unbelievable, the event. And it was a great experience because I learned how to treat quality with volume. And that was very important for the future of my career.
Learning to do
volume and quality together.
Yeah.
Does it limit what you can spend on ingredients? Does it limit what you can do with multiple step techniques?
Yes and no. You need to adjust, but I think everything could be achieved, if you have the money and the manpower. But in general, a great adjustment for me of learning those things and how to build a phantom kitchen and unbuild it, and transportation of food and for amazing event, by the way. But at the end of the day, I knew I was getting the experience, but it was not my thing. So I needed to go back in the restaurant business.
coming right back.
One of the sons of Trois Gros, who lives in Brazil, Claude, asked me to come and work with him to open a restaurant in New York on a French, sort of like Brazilian fusion cooking at the time. So I moved from the catering company to open this restaurant.
Are we talking about cello?
No, we're talking about City. And as this restaurant gained, I think, 3-star.
In the New York Times.
Rolls-Royce store, yes, 3-star from Rolls-Royce store. And then the restaurant closed after, I will say, 3 years or 3.5 years. And I ended up with no job. So I went to Las Vegas. I had an offer at Caesar Palace to take one of the fine dining restaurants. And then I moved to Las Vegas for about 2.5 years to do fine dining at this restaurant named Palace Court in Las Vegas, the old time Las Vegas. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
What do you think of the food in Vegas? I mean, to my astonishment, I had one of the best meals of my life there at Restaurant Guy Savoy.
Yeah.
And I went into that meal thinking it's hype, and it was stunning.
Yeah.
What do you think of the food scene in Vegas?
I think the food scene in Vegas is definitely great. I mean, look, at the time, I had the best restaurant in Vegas when I was over there. Villaggio did not exist, and the rest of the strip below did not exist either. I think I had 28 or 29 as I got. I mean, I was the highest ranked restaurant in Las Vegas. I mean, now it's another game. New restaurant, new hotels, chefs from all over the world, different cuisine. I think it's fantastic what they did. I think Las Vegas became, a gamble destination as well as, eating destination, which I think is great.
What happened next in your career?
So I met one of those rich American who wanted to open a restaurant in New York. Then I came back to open a restaurant named Cello, which was about 50-seat restaurant, very upscale, very fine dining, between Madison and Park across the Carlisle Hotel. I mean, it was a fantastic restaurant. It's great, but very challenging with 50 seats to be successful financially. So lasted about 3 years, maybe lasted 3 years. Yeah. Then I realized I needed to reinvent myself.
Okay, hold on. Before you reinvented yourself, now Cello got 3 stars from the Times, right?
Yeah, 3 stars from the Times.
But you thought it was time for a change?
Financially it was not the best thing. The guy who owned the building, decided to sell the building. So we shut down the restaurant. Then I went traveling, Vietnam and South America for like a year. Needed to take some fresh air. And then I came back and I said to myself, look, French food is not the greatest thing right now in New York. It's not going anywhere. Fine dining is kind of dying. It's not making it. So I looked like the big picture and I said, you know what, it's interesting because I think what Americans eat, they eat hamburger and they eat meat, most of the time. So why don't I create something with meat? So I went to different steakhouse, to the big name steakhouse in New York and actually Las Vegas also. And then I created this concept named BLT. So the idea was to offer a concept less manly than a steakhouse was, removing the leather seat, removing the white tablecloth, removing man smoking cigar, kind of like more appropriate restaurant where you can eat a steak. So between a bistro and a steakhouse.
This was BLT steak?
That was BLT steak, yeah, on 57th Street. So, instead of eating bad crab cake frozen, we made fresh crab cake. We made fresh seasonal vegetable. Instead of having the 1 pound New York steak, we made it to 12 ounces and then the filet 8 ounces. So women could come and be more approachable to this dining where everybody liked, as some raw fish to start with, some fresh fruit dessert, seasonal also. It took off right away. And then after that, we expanded to Miami, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, the Ritz-Carlton in Central Park. I mean, we had 22 of them.
22 BLT steaks?
Yeah, most of them were BLT steak. And then we had also BLT Prime in New York. We had BLT fish. BLT Prime was more like a concept where I dry aged the beef. I had a room, like Gallagher's a little bit. And then BLT fish, we got a Michelin star. BLT Fish I saw one of my best restaurants. It was very nice. I love this restaurant. And then we did BLT Burger also, which we had one here and one in Las Vegas also at the Mirage.
What's the secret to a good burger?
There is different secret. I think the secret is to choose the beef. The good beef usually is between 3 and 4 different cut of beef inside, with about an average between 18 and 22% of fat. Then a good bun. For me, look, it's like the pizza. Everybody has a different opinion. But for me, a good burger is definitely the beef, the quality of the beef and the quality of the bun. Then after that, you can put whatever you want inside. But the bun, I like the potato bun, for example, between a cross between a pain au lait and a brioche bun, not too sweet.
Were you making them yourself or were you buying Martin's potato buns?
Not buying Martin's potato bun, but I was buying the bun. Well, it depends. Some of the location I used to make the bun, and some of them I used to buy the bun to have a consistency. We had a BLT burger in Las Vegas where we used to do 21, 22, 2300 cover a day.
Are you still involved in the BLT restaurants?
No. I licensed the name, so I'm not involved.
The standard restaurant partnership story.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So what next?
It was about to come up. I'm one of those guys where, look, there is some chef who goes to French cooking and they stick to the French cooking for the rest of their life. Me, I needed to explore different things. We open a sushi restaurant. So I like to learn and do different things. So when I left the group, I opened another burger joint in Sag Harbor. Was doing very well, LT Burger. Then I had a dream about opening a pizzeria. So I went to Napoli. I went to different places to kind of learn and see what was real pizza. And then I started to open a pizzeria and an Italian restaurant with a pizzeria. So now I have a pizzeria in Sag Harbor named Sac Pizza. It's doing pretty well. And then we have an Italian restaurant here. It's called L'Amico inside the Avanti Hotel.
You consider L'Amico an Italian restaurant?
Yeah.
You had at least one Italian grandparent, right?
Yeah. The mother and father of my mother.
So did you grow up with homemade Italian food?
Not so much because it was kind of a fight a little bit at home with this. Do we cook French, do we cook Italian? And because of my dad, we cook French. But my grandmother used to cook Italian, yeah, sometimes.
So you open D'Amico.
Yeah.
And that's a big success. What is it about? What's the soul of that restaurant?
First, we cook everything in the wood oven. We have 2 gigantic wood ovens, which are beautiful.
Why wood ovens?
I mean, I like the flavor of cooking with the wood oven. And it was kind of like, I wanted to have a rustic concept a little bit. And then so we roast the fish inside, we do the meat inside, we have some pizza on the side. It's a little bit of everything of the Italian, But it works pretty well. It's been open for 10 years. And above that, we have an event space named Second, where we do all sorts of events.
You're open
in Sag Harbor, which is where rich New Yorkers go to play. You have concepts, at least one, I think more than one, in Miami. Have you figured out what well-to-do Americans want to eat?
Yeah, I think I figured it out, yeah.
And it is meat?
Yeah, there is some meat, there is some fish also, but, I had a fish shack also who was doing pretty well. I think I understand. I had one of the largest brasserie in New York, actually, in the Rockefeller Center, where we used to do Americanized French food, I would say.
What was the name of that restaurant?
Brasserie Ruhlmann. It was on the plaza. We had it for 15 years. Most of my cooking is really around American food and Italian, so.
What do you think about what's happening to dining in America today? On the one hand, we have all this talk of fresh, seasonal, and local. On the other hand, I don't see McDonald's going out of business.
I've been here for more than 30 years, and I think there is definitely an evolution about how people eat. And I'm glad about it. I think it's great. Is it everywhere in the United States? Maybe not, but I feel people are more conscious about what they eat and where they eat and what to eat. So look, it's not here yet, but it's better, Look, McDonald's will always be here. As bad as it is for you to eat, it's still a food chain who knows how to reinvent themselves. Every couple of years, there is something amazing coming out of it. So is it bad? Is it good? Well, that's what it is. That's what Americans like to eat. And by the way, as an amazing as it could be, it's you go in Europe now and everybody eat McDonald's. So it's not only here.
We're spreading fast food culture. I mean, I remember, look, I haven't been in Paris in years, but I remember that big Burger King on the Champs-Elysees seemed to do a fair amount of business.
Unbelievable.
When I lived in Budapest, McDonald's had just opened and it was the event in Budapest. I mean, they were just swamped. Let's get practical. I don't have a salamander. I can't reach 1700 degrees Fahrenheit. How do I cook a good steak at home?
Well, I cook a good steak actually this weekend, I think. I cook it. I always think about my grandmother, the way she was cooking the steak, and it's an amazing way. So you take the steak, you season it, you cook it in the pan with a lot of butter, and you let it cook very slowly. It forms a crust around it, okay? But don't put the heat on high, on medium low, okay? And then you have this foamy butter inside, okay? And then inside, you just put a little bit of garlic and thyme and let it crush just like that, okay? When it's finished to cook, remove the garlic and thyme, and inside add chopped garlic and parsley and baste it a little bit like that for 1 minute and serve it.
I'm getting hungry, chef.
Yeah. It's called a steak persillade. It's amazing. It's a very easy way of eating a steak, but it's great.
Everyone's talking about reverse sear, where you kind of sous vide the steak, you cook it real low, and then you crust it. That's not your suggestion.
Okay, so let me elaborate that a little bit because this is very interesting. So people do it with lamb, people do it with chicken. I think sous viding red meat, I think it changed the texture of it. The texture are completely soft, and I think you need to have a bite on the red meat. I think it needs to be tender, but it needs to have a texture when you eat. It cannot be just a piece of cotton. So I'm completely opposed to having the red meat in the sous vide. I think you need to cook it and you need to sear it and then you need to let it sit for a couple of minutes until it relax a little bit, but not sous vide for me. But some other things are good sous vide, like turkey, for example. We in Thanksgiving, sous-vide a turkey breast or turkey legs, and then searing it after. This is great because you keep all the juice inside.
Our Thanksgiving tradition is a turducken.
There we go. Well, that's a lot of work.
No, I buy it frozen. They ship it up from the Florida Panhandle.
Oh, wow.
My wife insists when we have people for Thanksgiving, she says, not everyone likes a turducken, so we're also going to make a turkey. And we do. And nobody eats the turkey. They just eat the turducken, and I don't have any left over. Plans for the future? New restaurants?
We do. We have plans for the future. So I'm opening a large grill in Philadelphia. And then we're opening a small pizzeria also in Philadelphia and a bakery. So a bakery / roaster. So we're going to have to learn some new thing here. Roaster is something new for me.
What is it?
A roaster, for coffee.
For coffee.
Yeah.
I see.
Do you have, clearly you are culinarily curious. Is that essential to be a good chef? I mean, I think passion is, but you seem to always want to learn something that somehow you don't yet know.
Yeah. I think there's the nature of someone. I don't think, they can develop it, of course, but yeah, look, I think becoming a chef is really, about curious, learning different technique, different flavor, from different countries. Traveling, it's part of that.
I live 90 minutes from Philly, so I'm coming to town.
Here we go, please.
Chef, it's been an absolute pleasure. Congrats on all your success, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate talking to you.
Laurent Tourondel on Culinary Characters Unlocked. I'm David Page, and I'll see you next time.